Well, despite being at this fantastic place here at Tierno tonight and a great crowd to hang out with us for our first live show and watch party, and together with the Sixer fans here, fantastic hosts they have been, and great to see everybody come out. The performance by the 76ers, not so much. That was not great, and they fall to 10-2 after yet another loss for the 76ers, this time to the Orlando Magic. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show, presented by, once again, Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. With Derek Bodner and Kyle Neubeck, Brianna here as well. I'm Devon Givens. And Kyle, is this kind of ordinary now for the Sixers after we 12 games in and they're 2-10? Is this the ordinary that we should be expecting from this basketball team?
All right, I have one thing I want to say to start the show. Boo! That was disgraceful down the stretch of that game. It should not, as you're saying, should we be getting used to this? No. No. You should never get used to losing. You certainly shouldn't get used to losing in the fashion that they did. And I don't want to go overboard piling on Joel Embiid right now, right? We can say all that we can about long layoff. This is basically his preseason, blah, blah, blah. Had a good first half, efficient, got to his spots to some degree, was able to get to the basket, get to the free throw line, looked pretty good. They had some lineups with him and Yabu and McCain where, hey, things look pretty good there, right? And then when he checked back into that game, what was that? Like a couple minutes left in the third, 3 or 4 minutes left in the third. That is one of the worst stretches of basketball I've ever seen him play. And there were reasons to say after that Knicks game, hey, I can see he's not trusting the knee, or I can see where the physical rust is, the mental rust is. There were just some flat-out unacceptable possessions from him where he's catching the ball and he's like holding the ball out with one hand, just head in the clouds. Nobody could come from behind and take this ball from me. Like I don't know what is going through his head on those plays. And he wasn't the only guy at fault. And we'll assign blame over the course of the next hour or so. But watching him come into the game where it was a competitive game, it was a close game basically all the way until the end of the fourth quarter where leads weren't really getting more than like 8-9 points. It would swing back the other way. You're riding the roller coaster. You have to come into that game locked in mentally. Orlando is a tough defensive team. They want to get into your chest. Joel certainly already saw. They wanted to throw doubles, sometimes triples at him. And he did not respond at all. It's not even that he didn't respond well. He just was asleep. Rarely do you see him that completely out of it to that degree. And even if you want to say, oh, he's fatigued, he's this, it happened the second he checked back into the game. That was not like, hey, he's at the end of a 7-minute stretch and his legs are tired and he's gassed and you got to get him to the bench. That was immediately after coming back into the game. If that's the case, he can't be on the floor. And I've said it 100,000 times. I never begrudge guys who cannot be out there. If they're too tired, they're hurt, whatever it is. But when you are on the floor, you are responsible for your results and for your play. And he was not good enough. And that was the beginning of the end. The game spiraled from there, and he never pulled them out of it. And he, not only that, was the active cause of a lot of their problems down the stretch.
Yeah, Orlando went on a 20-3 run from about 4 minutes in the third quarter to about 8 minutes in the fourth. Over a span of 8 minutes, they scored 3 gosh darn points. I'm trying real hard here, Samsung, to say gosh darn. It was
Xfinity and Rogan,
all you people who don't want us to be our
Welcome
natural
to the
selves.
tube. Yes.
I just want to be my true self right now and say words that none of you want me to say.
You said those a lot while we were here watching with everybody else.
It was a great night, just not because of any basketball reasons. No, he was out of it mentally. And on the one hand, there was a lot of positive to take from the first half of Joel's performance. He was pushing off on that knee, making drives to the basket that he wasn't even trying. And I was really encouraged. And you combine that with McCain going off and the Sixers having the lead, I'm like, oh, man, we finally get to have a fun postgame. And not even like a forced postgame. I don't say like yesterday's conversation where we're talking about McCain was forced because we were excited about him. But like we could have been excited about the team.
Yes.
And we have not been excited about the team all season long yet. And then they had one of the worst stretches you've seen in a long time. And Kyle mentioned like he didn't think he was tired because he came back in after being out for a couple of minutes. But he did play like he was tired.
Yes.
And when Joel Embiid gets tired, he tends to get real sloppy with ball security, with his decision making. And that play that you referenced, where he's standing out there at the 3-point line, holding the ball with his right side without a care in the world.
What are you doing?
He was just not checked into the game mentally at that point. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just preseason rust. I don't know if it's because he's getting back into shape. I don't know if he's just having one of those moments. But it was very, very frustrating. And again, I'm trying real hard here not to be completely negative. I'm trying to find the glass half full angle to it. And it was that he moved better. He did not necessarily move in the first half like a guy coming off of a knee injury. That's fine. But my gosh, you're 2-10 right now. You need more than moral, like, hey, he moves like a basketball player. Again, victories. You need to pick up some actual victories that count in the win column. They should have had this one, and they got smoked in the second half.
I've been hammering this on the show. They do not have the luxury of just punting games for 2 months of the season, right? The reason we hammered them for a loss like that Raptors game or some of these early losses that they had before Joel came back and said, hey, we're disappointed in, and certainly not casting any aspersions at Tyrese Maxey in street clothes right now, but why we were a little disappointed in Tyrese in those games and the team in those games is because then you put yourself in a situation where you bring this guy back, Paul's coming back midstream, and they have to win right away. There is no guarantee they're going to Miami. Mm-hmm. By the way, after spending a whole weekend in Miami, which figure out if everybody's going to be dialed in all weekend with those circumstances. There's certainly no guarantee they're going to Memphis and winning a game. They could be 2-12, and you can put all the numbers in front of me that you want. Hey, this is where they're at relative to other teams in the Eastern Conference. Well, the other teams in the Eastern Conference are not effectively playing preseason games right now. They will be ahead of them in terms of synergy and chemistry and all kinds of other things for the rest of the year. And I'm just not a believer in, like, you don't just out-talent people, right? The reason I always have cared about the regular season and try to get people off of the whole, hey, it's just talk to me in the playoffs or whatever. This is when you build an identity, and they are not even close to that. They have two stars who are either not in shape enough, not sharp enough, whatever it is, to develop any sort of cohesive identity. We'll get to the head coach. I don't think he's helping them do that, and I think he has a part to play in all this as well. But the reason I hammered Joel for that stretch end of the third quarter, start of the fourth, is because, Derek, as you referenced, the holding it out and just lackadaisical thing, it's like in football, right? There are times when a quarterback or somebody else fumbles and, they have the ball wrapped up and somebody just makes a play, right? Somebody just dives and punches it, and you say, that's, Peanut Tillman was the guy who made that popular, but there are a lot of guys who are just good at that. You tip your hat, you say, good defensive play. He made it easy for them. You can't, that's it. You go into that game knowing the Orlando Magic are a tough, defensive, get in your chest team, and he was just completely unprepared for it. And that is unacceptable.
And, of course, the steal that you guys are talking about, Anthony Black just coming from behind, easy layup on the other end after getting the steal, pick six, go the other way and lay the basketball up. But he did. He looked sloppy. There's not much more for me to add to what you guys already said. He did look sloppy. He did look a little tired and fatigued. And not playing basketball games, you don't know how to read, again, coverages after a while since he's been out for so many games, missing 10 games already. You kind of lose the speed of the game a bit and understanding where the coverage is going to come from when you are, first of all, you're standing basically in the middle of the floor. I know it was on the wing, but you're standing in the middle of the floor. You give the basketball, you pick up your dribble, and you're just hanging out there like Dallas Goedert did last night and causing that fumble, as you talk about, that they did. Thank goodness for Grant Calcaterra. No Grant Calcaterra in this situation because it was not much to clean up. It was gone. It was a clean one.
Jared McCain tried to be Grant Calcaterra. He did his best.
He tried, but and look, he looked much better than he did against the Knicks. But we needed more from him. You showed us what you showed us in the first half. You look pretty solid. you weren't going to necessarily win the game, but you just needed to be able to help and close the game while Jared McCain was going on his MVP tour again in Orlando. And Paul George already struggling. You needed that second person to do that. And that was you, Joel. It didn't necessarily need to be in the scoring. It was just being aware of what was happening around you on the floor, whether it was the rebounding and not allowing the offensive rebound to happen in front of you, or making that extra pass, or just simply rolling to the basket and receiving something, getting fouled, get to the free throw line, and knock down your free throws. Whatever it was, you just needed to do the small things. As Kyle mentioned, it's the preseason. All right, we got it. But in the preseason, you have to do those small things to knock those things off the list, the checklist of getting back to yourself. And he didn't. He was trying to do the old Joel Embiid things 12 games into a regular season that he just doesn't have right now. And he needed to make sure, as the leader of the basketball team, the franchise player that he is, knowing that he is going to be double and triple teamed even at this stage of the season and his physical space of where he is right now, they're still going to challenge him because you're Joel Embiid and you needed to be a lot better in those spots to help close out. You don't have Tyrese Maxey, and it was very glaring while McCain had his 29. You needed somebody to close the game out.
Watching Kyle Lowry try to run some of those actions late game.
You didn't have Tyrese Maxey to help close the game out. And they sorely missed it. Paul George was not up to it tonight. Joel Embiid needed to be up to it tonight, and he was not.
And look, because there's going to be we got a lot of people in chat right now. It's flying, man. Chat is popping right now. And there's going to be a lot of people coming at it from different perspectives, right? Some people are going to be like, don't blame Joel. It's the second game back. The team still needs him. Some people don't freak out. Look, I legitimately have a column I'm writing right now where I'm like, I'm actually kind of intrigued by their start. It's crazy right now, but I'm still going to keep publishing it because, gosh darn it, I'm stubborn. But we're doing a post.
Then you have to waste a bunch of words.
I can't waste words.
Still 4 games back, Garrett. No problem.
Well, there is going to be time for that perspective. There is going to be time for the perspective of when Joel's back and playing well with McCain and his ascension, with Maxey coming back. You can see the blueprint. The season is not over. I don't want, if we're sitting here being negative about a game, it's because we're reacting to a game that was embarrassing to watch. But there is still a longer view, so just keep that in mind. Like, if we're frustrated, it happens. We're going to react to it. We're going to react to the game that we just watched and that you're all tuning in from. It doesn't mean the season's over, but by golly, would I wish they closed out that game so we could have a fun podcast to talk about.
It looked like it was going to be fun. I mean, the kid was playing. He was rolling again.
Yeah. We'll do our positive spin in a bit. I think the thing I have trouble with, or I've had trouble with to open the year, is I don't think I fundamentally believe in the thesis they have for this season, which is basically that they can treat the regular season for Joel as just this, like, it matters, but it doesn't, right? Like, he's not going to play back-to-backs. They're going to be precautious with him. Any kind of bumps and bruises he gets, right? And, like, that's a nice thing to say because we all know the history. You want to have him in as pristine condition as you can get him in for the playoffs. And if you have to go in with a lower seed, if you have to make some sacrifices to do that, that's great. You know what part of the playoffs is about? It's learning how to play when you're tired. It's learning how to play at the end of the year when everybody's got something wrong. One guy's got a bum knee. One guy's got a sore shoulder. One guy's ankle is bothering him. One guy's got a foot problem. And you know what? Every single guy by the end has some form of a problem. Now, that's not to say they all have serious injuries, the type of injuries that Joel has dealt with. But what we've seen from Joel, what you're seeing here, he is not only is he not good at playing when he's like anything less than 100%, he can be actively harmful for the team. So this idea that you can go the whole season and treat him like this racehorse that you only bring out for, the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont, like that is just not believable to me based on this guy's history. And that doesn't mean you have to play him 40 minutes a night and play him in back-to-backs. But I just don't see how you can develop the sort of cohesion for the team and develop the version of Joel Embiid that is going to be able to play 38, 40 minutes in meaningful playoff games when you're never going to challenge him to do that. And nobody has the expectation that he can be that guy when he's at less than 100%. And that's the hardest thing that I have trouble wrapping my mind around right now. It's just like, he's got to get through a wall. You can't just remove this wall, right? Like, he has to clear this hurdle and become a guy he has not shown he can be in those moments. It's not to say he can't be very good if they go on this plan, but he's got to be number one option, MVP level guy to get there. And so far, the thesis looks pretty crappy. That's a long way to go. There's 70 games left. It is important to say that. It's a lot of games and a lot of time. But I have my skepticism.
And he'll get his praise because in those 70 games, he's going to be an all-star, all-NBA level player like he always is. But for right now, it is game 2. And Derek, you talked about there's so many people where the chat is on fire. I see our good friend Philip Fans. We always have good conversations about this. The difference is this. He played 33 minutes. So if you're playing 33 minutes, you can't have 6 turnovers. We've seen how that happens because normally those 6 turnovers for Embiid, and we know this because we've all seen it, most of those turn into live ball turnovers that then result into going the other way where you give the floor advantage to the offense now with the basketball to get something going in transition. And also often then that might turn into, hey, now we're on a 7-0 run. We just gave up. We had a run. Now we're giving up a 7-0 run. He played 33 minutes. So in those 33 minutes, we didn't ask for 33 points. We just asked you to be a little bit sharper, a little more attentive, a little bit more aware of what was going on around and not trying to do too much in those 33 minutes where you get yourself, you get your team in trouble, and then you find yourself like the Sixers were, starting off again with a run and then having to give it up simply because of the mere fact that those things started to happen. So when you have those self-inflicted wounds, that's what's going to get you. And then you see it in his body language after that. So if he makes a few bad ones, he also doesn't like that he didn't get a call or he didn't like a shot that he took, but he wanted to kind of blame it on something else. Then the body language starts to affect. And when that becomes an effect, then it becomes another thing that's a spiraling thing elsewhere. So understand the frustration. We are all frustrated, but it's okay to also criticize in the moment what we just saw. Guess what? He's going to have the weekend off, like Kyle said, Saturday and Sunday. He's going to have an opportunity to play against Miami on Monday. Be better. And then what are we talking about? A 3-10 team.
Great job, yeah.
You come out, you got 25 and 10. Maybe you have 7 assists, 2 or 3 turnovers, a couple of blocks, maybe a steal here and there in your 33 minutes where you impacted the game that way. That's why it is still okay. Because if we're going to pound the table and say 70 games left, they're only 4 games back at 6th place, we can also point out that you don't want to dig yourself too deep of a hole, especially when your guys come back. As sparingly as it may be, you want to make sure that you point out, you see what happens right there in the moment. I don't want to talk about lottery selections and top 6 protected pick in June.
For Cooper Flag.
No, I don't want to talk about that.
You.
No, I want to talk about exactly what we were talking about in the offseason when this team was put together, this team making a run.
And look, this was a winnable game. You might not have had Tyrese Maxey, but you still had 3 All-Stars.
Yes, you did. Yes, one played like it. Jared McCain. We'll get to him later.
I would just close with this on, I don't have much more to say on Joel except for this. I would say, I think when he's at his best, and I genuinely believe he's a hyper intelligent player. I think if you go through his history of, him being a high level defender, coaches talking about he picks up concepts so quickly, this and that, just go down the list of ways that we can point out his intelligence and the way he studies the game. He also, set aside the fatigue part, he also has to be smart enough in the moment. And I put this on Nurse some too. Stop running everything. I know this is easier said than done. You can't just run everything through him over and over again as it becomes clear he either doesn't have the legs, doesn't have the touch, whatever it is. That's on him. If he believes in all this stuff, I want to be a better leader. I want to try to, lift everybody else up and not necessarily be the center of everything. If it's setting screens, if it's rebounding, he said all these things. Great. So when this moment happens, when you have a stretch like this, that needs to be a conversation between you and the staff and the other guys on the roster, the other guys on the floor. Hey, this is how I'm going to help you. I need you to pick me up right now because there will be stretches of this season where he does pick the other guys up. Allow them to help you. Don't just go down on your sword, missing 8 straight shots, 9 straight shots, whatever it was in that game. There's no reason to do that. You have to change the offense. You have to be a little creative, but that's how it's got to be. You want to lead, that's how you lead.
All right, when we come back, we need to talk about maybe a good, maybe another bad. Paul George wasn't great in this one either. In a winnable game as the Sixers fall 98-86 to the Orlando Magic. You can forget about a trip to Vegas, fellas, because I don't think we're going to Las Vegas.
No.
The cup dream is over, boys.
Of this group.
It's
and
over.
if you want to know why we're mad, that's why we're mad.
Actually, honestly, after 8 days or 9 days in Vegas in the summer, I think that was enough for a year. I think we're good.
Yeah, when we come back, we'll get into Paul George, Jared McCain, everyone else as the Sixers fall in this one. 98-86. They're now 2-10. The Magic improved to 8-6. 0-2 in the NBA Cup. Group play, Orlando 2-0. And they have a big advantage in terms of the point differential. We'll see what happens with the New York Knicks as their game is coming to it. And we'll get it all back right here on the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show.
All right. First up, we need to tell you about TrueMark and their rewards Visa credit card. Earn rewards for each purchase using TrueMark Financial's Rewards Visa credit card and redeem them for travel and retail gift cards. Build credit through timely payments and low credit utilization, and enjoy fraud protection with features like zero liability. We'll also make sure you know about other savings options you have with TrueMark Financial. They have a traditional savings account, which is a basic savings account, offering a place to deposit funds, earn interest, and withdraw money as needed. There's also a money market account, which combines features of savings and checking accounts, offering higher interest rates and limited check writing capabilities, giving you easy access to your money when you need it. And then finally, there is a certificate, which is a fixed-term deposit account with a predetermined interest rate and maturity date, offering higher interest rates for locking in funds for a specific period. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. For more information, visit truemark.com/PHLY.
And I have to tell you about our good friends from Glatt, now named Glatt Hair Restoration by the Morgenstern Medical. And hey, it's still the great company that it was before. Same peerless approach to care, same expert team, same unmatched Glatt system, same state-of-the-art location, and the same stellar results. Each member of this exceptionally trained team brings 30-plus years of industry experience. Hair restoration is all they do, and the care is still there because not only was Dr. Glatt, of course, a great doctor, but now that they have combined forces with Dr. Morgenstern, the friendship is very important to Dr. Morgenstern, that they're going to keep the great approach that was there before ongoing into the future. And here's what you get with the Glatt hair treatment, the stages of hair loss. So again, the prevention and restoration, including laser light therapy, non-invasive TED treatments, vitamin supplementation, PRP, and stem cell restoration and hair restoration surgery overall. Each patient also receives a complimentary one-on-one consultation to pinpoint the best course of treatment. Glatt hair isn't just about restoration, it's about innovation. Their breakthrough treatments really do dramatically change lives, and they can help you with that as well. Change your hair, change your life. Bald is now optional, but if you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself, Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit GlattHairMCTR.com or call 910-980-4000 to get started. All right, welcome back to the PHLY
We're all
Sixers
losing
Postgame
hair
show,
watching this damn team,
presented by Bet365. I didn't need any help. I was already getting there, so I didn't need any help. Come on, Sixers. But I'll go see Dr. Glatt. We're hooked up there. We got to talk about Paul George, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because this one was not a good one after he had a 29-point performance, 10 rebounds against the New York Knicks on Tuesday. He struggled in this one, 4 for 15 in 35-plus minutes for 13 points, 3 turnovers. He did have 4 boards, 5 assists, 4 steals on the evening. But you can kind of tell that he was a little bit out of it. He was over-dribbling from time to time. Derek, where he got himself in trouble and the shot clock is winding down, and then he forced to either pass the ball with the hot potato or shoot it yourself with the shot clock winding down. What did you see in the difference from him, that the performance that we saw on Tuesday versus tonight?
Yeah, I mean, he could get absolutely nowhere off the dribble. Absolutely nowhere. And when he did get somewhere and tried to elevate, he couldn't elevate either. This was, if Joel Embiid didn't completely, I think, what was the phrase you used in the bar? Poop all over the court for 5 minutes straight. Paul George would be our number one topic right now. Because he was just, like, at least Joel Embiid had moments where he was impacting the game offensively, really that first quarter, 10 in the first quarter. I think he had 16 by halftime. Paul George never really left an imprint on the game at any point. He made a couple of threes, but outside of that, he was decent defensively. But when you're down Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid just has nothing going in the second half, it would be great if the guy that you just signed for $200+ million was able to create offense. He was not. And, I still like the fact that out of a pick and roll, he can make some of those passes that others on the roster can't. That's great. I love his ability to make contested shots. That's great. I love that he can shoot off the catch or off the screen. That's going to be a good compliment when Joel Embiid is at the top of his game, when Tyrese Maxey is back on the floor. But asking him to ramp up his offensive production and his self-creation has just been painful to watch at times throughout the early parts of the season.
Yeah, and there was a stretch tonight where they decided, well, we're not going to play any guards. Paul will just be the point guard on the floor. And I'm not sure exactly what we have seen from Paul to warrant that type of lineup right now, right? Where I get it, right? The options, if you don't want to overextend Jared, are Lowry or Reggie Jackson or Jeff Doughton, who somehow got minutes again despite playing 2 complete clunkers in the previous 2 games. I don't really know what the rationale was behind that one, especially because Reggie actually played well the other night. If you're looking for some juice off the bench from a ball handler. But yeah, I mean, some of this, again, is shot diet, but we were assuming Paul's shots would get a little bit easier as, Joel comes back in the fold, draws doubles. So, Joel's got to read doubles better. Ball's got to be crisper, moving around the perimeter, all that. I do like, and we talked about this in the middle of the game, I do like that Paul kept getting shots up, that he was not deterred by the fact that he missed some of those threes. He took a couple more tough ones after he was in a cold spot. But again, 4 for 15 and 3 for 9 is just not going to get it done. It's not good enough. And I'm glad that he's been as disruptive as he has been defensively. There is a little too much for me cheating away off the corner to try to turn guys over, and it's leading to some more open threes from the corners than I would probably like. But Nick Nurse is generally okay with conceding corner threes, so I guess we'll see what happens with that over time. The passing, it's hard to make heads or tails of it, right? Because on the one hand, I do value those skip passes to the corners. I do value some of the drop-offs he's making at the rim that they aren't coming off because either it's going to Andre Drummond or Joel is just stuck in mud right now and can't do anything with it. But it's the turnovers where it's just like, buddy, what did you see there? What were you even – or like they're in – the one the other night was a better example against New York where there was – somebody was on Joel, and McHale was then behind that guy, and he throws this like lazy lofted pass that it's like the idea that you thought there was even a 5% chance of that ball getting to Joel was just absurd on its face. So want to see him more as that off-ball weapon where he can attack as a catch-and-shoot guy, attack as a closeout attacker, and do some of the stuff that I think we know he's still very good at, rather than him having to run the offense for pretty long stretches. I don't think that's going to be a big source of success for them.
The beauty of what we wanted to see from Paul George, of course, we saw a lot of that against New York, despite a play like the one you mentioned when Kale got that steal. The very first play that they connected on to take a 4-0 lead after Embiid made the first 2 free throws, there was a nice design play where Embiid slipped to the basket after he rolled to the basket, and Paul George just whipped the pass to him right over the top, easy bucket, layup, and you're like, oh, this might be easy tonight against Batadze. Batadze is a nice center for who he is, but he's going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
And we saw the really nice first half, but then those types of plays did happen a little bit later on from Paul George. And I know I always say this to you and everybody out there as we're watching, and we talk about this in the office and we talk about it with Bree, is that guys coming in here when we're evaluating them to come play with Joel Embiid, they never played with a player like Joel Embiid. Well, early right now, we're seeing that, at least in this game, that might be the other side of it, of the negative side of playing, of trying to figure out how to do it with Joel Embiid. And again, what does that then look like with Tyrese Maxey on the floor? We don't know. We had an idea of it because of what McCain has been doing and how well he has played, but trying to play off with Joel Embiid and figure out where you can get your spots and where you can get your shots. And when do I move here and when do I pass? Because there were a few times where Embiid did roll to the middle of the floor and the pass should have been there, nice pocket pass.
It's not quick enough.
And they didn't do it. Exactly. So that's also the learning curve that I'm seeing a lot of people talk about, where we have to give them some time and give them some grace. It's tough because they're 2-10, they're 12 games in, but you do look at parts of like that hasn't played with a guy like this, but we wanted to see that in games 1 through 5, not game 12, where they can get through some of those little issues there. And by the time we get to game 12, it's like, okay, they're really starting to put it together. They aren't really starting to understand one another out there on the floor. Instead, they're doing this now, and it's resulting in the wrong things at the moment when they desperately need a win.
Yeah. No, I mean, they looked all kinds of, like, every bad trait you can imagine, from stars missing this much time, from not looking like they're on the same page, to being tired out there, to being fatigued mentally out there, to the decision-making. It all showed up in that second half, and it was truly one of the more frustrating halves to watch, in part because I really thought they had this. You had the Embiid half, then you had McCain, well, right up until he fouled out.
Yeah.
And you thought they were going to steal a game. And I was honestly, and I'm excited that we'll get a chance to talk about this, I thought at one point Suggs actually looked like he was starting to make his imprint on McCain. He was picking him up from 35-plus feet, and I thought the rookie bounced back from that, and I was really encouraged by that. And like I said, there are encouraging aspects to this team, because I do still think at the end of the day, Joel is going to get back to, if not where he was, certainly to being a dominant basketball player. Like, in all honesty, even after today, I might believe that more now, because I do think what he showed in the first half was encouraging of what he's physically capable of doing. Still, it's just you got to get the mental back up to that. It is in part preseason for him. It is why not playing in the preseason, or not even really scrimmaging up until 2 weeks ago. It's a tough spot to be in, but you need him to be better, because you're 2-10. You are, over a seventh of the way through the season. Like, we need some wins.
Jay Flo on the super chat. Let's tell you about Jay Flo in the super chat.
Oh boy.
He simply says, trade Embiid. We're not going there. We're with Philly fans on this one. We're not going there. We're not going there. We're not saying Jay Flo. Thanks for the super chat. We appreciate it.
They lost to the Raptors and the Pistons without Embiid. Say what you want about Orlando, especially without Paolo, but they are a dominant defensive team.
Yes, they are.
Stop it.
Yes, they are. 8-6. They are third in the Eastern Conference, behind Cleveland and Boston, but they do have an identity. We're still trying to figure it out what the Philadelphia 76ers are. We have plenty of super chats to get to going forward. We have to talk about Jared McCain.
Please, mercifully.
Yes.
We'll talk about Jared.
We'll talk about Jared. AC Phila, come back. Phila fans, come back. You told me to send you a bat signal when we start talking about something positive. We're going to talk about Jared McCain when we come back, because he was phenomenal. Yet again, he passed the test tonight, man. He really did.
Flying colors.
He passed the test tonight. We'll get to it on the other side right here as we broadcast live from Tierney Nogue, our home tonight. It's been fantastic. Again, the Coors Lights were flowing. The food was fantastic. The people were great that came to hang out with us. We'll discuss more of that when we get back, along with the Sixers, right here on the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show.
All right, first off, I want to tell you about Rite Aid. And look, we've talked to you about flu shots. We have talked to you about allergies. Now we want to talk to you about pneumonia, because it's getting a little bit cold outside.
It is getting chilly out there.
Help protect yourself from pneumonia. Adults aged 50 and older are now eligible for the vaccine. It was previously ages 65 plus, but the CDC lowered the age recommendation to 50 and over. Millions of people get pneumonia every year, according to the CDC. It's respiratory illness, and fall and winter are a time when germs that cause respiratory disease typically spread more in the community. So now is the time to get vaccinated and help yourself stay healthy. Some people who get pneumonia have mild symptoms, but others experience serious complications. The vaccine is one of the best ways to help keep yourself healthy, and it's usually at no cost with insurance. Getting vaccinated is easy. Just walk into your local Rite Aid or schedule online at riteaid.com. If you're unsure of what vaccines you may need, just ask your pharmacist for any personal recommendations. Stop by your local Rite Aid today.
Boy, has there ever been a time, has there ever been a team, a fan base that needed to choose chill? Apparently there are people telling us, maybe even me specifically, to choose chill. It doesn't matter that they're 2-10 after 12 games, an idea that I reject, but it still is always a good idea to take a step back, take a deep breath, choose chill, and then perhaps reach for an ice-cold Coors Light, because with Coors Light, you know you're getting an ice-cold beer when the mountains turn blue on the bottles and cans right as they hit that perfect temperature. We had some Coors Light flowing around here tonight. Unfortunately, it's a work night for us, so we're drinking water. But we had plenty of our PHLY family here getting to enjoy some Coors Light refreshments as we all sat through that exciting first half, intriguing third quarter. Unfortunately, horrible fourth quarter, horrible end to the game. Even if you're watching a terrible game like that, even if you have to suffer through this pain along with us, you can still have a cold layered, cold filtered, cold packaged Coors Light with a smooth finish and get that mountain cold refreshment. So when you choose to rise above it all, choose chill, choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by Bet365 at our home for the night here in the Note right here on 16th and the Arch. Fantastic place. If you haven't been here, do yourself a favor. Come hang out. Great food. The wings were fantastic.
Had a cheesesteak egg roll. It was
I didn't have that.
There was a pretzel with some mustard.
Bree had the pretzel. I saw Bree. The pretzel was pretty good. Bree said having the wings. Derek, how was the burger, Derek? It was pretty good.
It was real good.
Yeah.
It was real good.
Yeah, like the fries. The fries were pretty good.
Yeah.
Fries pretty good. So great spot.
Wings were good.
They were, man. They were.
Honestly, I had like 4 different things today, and they were all good.
That's what it was all about. Great spot once again. We appreciate them for hosting us here tonight. By the way, when you go to Rite Aid, too, because it's cold, you got to make sure you get some lip balm, man. Make sure you know,
hey,
cover
my lips are chapped after that Eagles game last night. Being out in that cold and wind in the parking lots for a few hours before the game.
You got a good win.
Look, I'm just impressed that you're here today, man. That is the heart of a champion.
Listen, my dad taught me one thing growing up. He said, you can do whatever you want with your free time. Go out, have fun, have a good time. You got to show up for your obligations. Got to show up to work the next day, no matter what time it's at. So here I am. And by the way, I just want to note, we haven't gotten to this yet. There was a W for Gamblin' Givens on the pregame show.
By the skin of his teeth.
Cooked up a parlay.
Not my fault.
2+3s for Jared McCain.
Let me clap it up for myself.
That covered easy. He got 5. And he said 20-plus points for Joel Embiid.
Yes.
He scraped that 20.
I needed those 4.
Skin of his teeth,
I needed those 4 free throws in the second half.
Gamblin' Givens is back on the winning side.
I am here.
I will acknowledge
it on Monday.
Devon is taking his winnings and he's going to Vegas with another team that's not the Sixers for the NBA Cup and doubling down, baby.
Yes, I am. That was fun to go through that, but it wasn't because he should have had 27.
It was torture.
He should have had 27 in
this. He
one.
started the game 5 for 7, and he finished the game 5 for 15. So
yeah, first quarter he had 10 points. He was 3 for 5. Got to the free throw line 4 times. Drilled all 4 of those free throws. He did have 2 turnovers, but it didn't hurt them. They were only down 3. And McCain hadn't even gotten going yet. He was held scoreless in 5 minutes.
So let's talk about that guy.
So let's talk about him. Yeah, because that is the bright spot. So if you talk about the showing up for work like the Eagles did last night, Jared McCain showed up for work, and again, he passed the test, man. I said it yesterday with Derek. We even talked about it, Rich and I, during the postgame on Wednesday, of how we looked ahead to Orlando. Man, you're going to go against Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Jalen Suggs, and you are going to be the primary for Jalen Suggs. And Suggs did what he was supposed to do in the first quarter. He held him scoreless in those 5 minutes. And I thought Nick Nurse had a quick hook because he looked shook playing against Jalen Suggs. But then he figured it out, and he got going in the second quarter just before you guys jumped right into it. In the second quarter, he was 4 for 5, and he only made 1 3. He had 9 points. He was a +10, 2 assists. He did pick up 2 personal fouls, and that went against him later on. But he played 10 minutes and 11 seconds, and Jalen Suggs was on the floor for 8:54 of those. So whoever was in front of him, he gave it to him. He was phenomenal.
So I'm going to highlight something that I absolutely love from him tonight. The footwork in the paint with the subtle, just like hezzy one way or feinting one way and then going under a guy. He got Jalen Suggs with a move on one of those. He got Jonathan Isaac, who is much bigger than him. And you have a very small window through which you can score if you're Jared McCain going against Jonathan Isaac in that situation, right? You're sort of at a standstill and you go there. And Jonathan Isaac never even jumped because Jared McCain got him going one way and went right past him. That's the stuff that's like, the struggles at the rim have been there at times. We believed in him as a shooter. We think that'll be there no matter what. If you have a concern over the longer term, it's like, can he score at the rim? Can he beat these bigger, more athletic defenders? Well, you saw him going against bigger, more athletic defenders that entire game, right? And I think the other thing you see, which we've seen in all these games, he goes through a tough stretch. Tonight it just so happened to be the opening 5 minutes of the game. Maybe it's nerves, maybe it's matchups, whatever it might be. He perseveres, right? He goes to the bench. He gets that quick hook that you're referencing, Devon. He comes back, and he builds the momentum himself. He trusts his shots. He trusts the work that he puts in. There were times tonight where he missed a couple threes in a row, but they were good looks. And he'd come back down, and he'd take the same shot again or a similar shot again, right? He was not deterred by failure, and that is such an important mental trait to have for anybody, but certainly for a young player who your role is going to fluctuate. You're going to go up and down. It's tough to make it as a 19, 20-year-old rookie in the league. I've just been so impressed by his poise so far. Like, the shot making's awesome. The moves are awesome. I just think the ability to just keep coming back and coming back and coming back and trying to impact the game, even after you've had a tough stretch, even when you could hang your head and feel sorry for yourself and just let it spiral, I think he's done an excellent, excellent job at that. And so to see him finish at the rim the way he did at times tonight, that was also like, oh, hey, that's something that we haven't seen a whole ton of. And that was really good to see against that opponent specifically.
Yeah, he certainly showed a lot of craft to get shots up.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think a craft has generally been there. But that shot against Isaac was really impressive. And when driving, he's able to use his, players are so scared of the shot that he's able to use that to get guys off balance. And I think he understands how to change direction well enough to do that. And to your point, like I said, there were a couple minutes there where I thought Suggs kind of got into his head a little bit, showed him some pressure. He was the only real guard on the floor. And I think during that stretch, you sort of see why Nick Nurse played Lowry so much, even though Lowry is old, to put it charitably.
He is cooked, man.
But I think they really want another ball handler on there alongside of McCain, in part to help break the press. But he had a couple of threes that he missed in a row, and he came back and he kept firing. And he got up, 10 threes again here today. He's had 10 threes now for a couple games in a row. He's been truly incredible. And he was the most consistent, not only play finisher in this game, he was the most consistent shot creator in this game as a 20-year-old rookie who we all questioned whether he could create his own shot against elite competition. And these last two games, obviously you had the Cavs with all their size on the interior and the way that they're able to clamp down defensively like that. Then you had this one with a real tough perimeter matchup against Suggs and also a lot of length there in the front court. And for him to find success against those two different type of archetypes and two matchups that theoretically should have been tough for him in his first two starts as an NBA, it is absolutely incredible how much he is, first of all, single-handedly uplifting the vibes for this team, but also just breathing life into, if they do actually, like if Joel Embiid does start looking like Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey come back and Paul George settles into that fourth or third option role, and you got, McCain in the starting lineup as a fourth option, now you can go out there and maybe try to upgrade the Caleb Martin spot and throw Martin to the bench or whatever have you at the trade deadline. You can still squint and see how this could somehow make sense.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because he is just showing out in a way that I think a lot of people, ourselves included, didn't know if he would be able to at this level.
And when you talk about the poise, just taking away, going away from the stuff that was the shot creation and the footwork and all that, but the poise, those are some of the things that the Sixers did talk about when they drafted him.
Yes.
And draft night, that was brought up during the broadcast, that we could hear a little bit while we were doing the show with the great crowd that was there with us. A lot of people just rolled their eyes at it because, all right, well, how's that going to translate into wins? Well, we're seeing it now, especially being around him like we have been lucky enough to be around him since the summertime, seeing how he works. When he talks about the meditation, I keep bringing that up because that's really important to him. And he doesn't let himself – he knows who he is. He knows what he can and cannot do. He knows his limitations. He understands those things. We still see breakdowns on defense because that's just not who he is yet. He hasn't figured that part out yet. We still see some problems with the ball handling when that pressure is there, like we saw in the first 5 minutes of the first quarter where it did not look good. But I said this to Jamie Lynch, who was with us, of course, from our PHLY team. I said, I'm not saying this to say that I'm like Jared McCain, but I can understand Jared McCain in this sense. Everybody know I'm not going to pass the Kyle Neubeck height challenge, right? That's no surprise there. But when I played,
if you want, I can like sit on a lower seat so you can pretend that you're tall.
All right,
that's why you're a good teammate, man. That's why you're a good teammate. When I played, I had those things going against me where guys like your size at 6'3", 6'4", and Derek's size, and then 6'7" dudes there in my way, where I had to get creative with how I would score the basketball. So I'm familiar with the scoop shot underneath the arm because I think I can jump off the wrong foot.
I hate that so much.
But I love
annoys
it
the hell out of me.
exactly, because that's what you do to big guys, and then they come down on your forearm. You either make it, you miss it, you get to the free throw line, and 1 or 2 free throws. Those are the type of, and the footwork, as you talk about.
Yeah.
You know, those are the things that those smaller guys have to work on because you are, and he's not. And I saw Philly fans talking about the lack of athleticism with this team. We're supposed to see that with Kelly Oubre and Caleb Martin, and we'll see that with some of them maybe when Maxey comes back and it all comes together. But he does lack the athleticism despite the great punch in the front in the open floor that he had when the guys were closing in on him after a great play by he and Yabu to get that transition dunk. He is not athletic. So he has to do those the other way with the footwork and with the great poise that he's doing these things, figuring it out in real time like he did against Jalen Suggs. That was impressive. We see guys who are veterans against Jalen Suggs and other strong defenders fall apart.
Defense type guy, man.
Fall apart, man. And he did not. He kept going. He was the driving force of them coming back in that game. And once Embiid came in and then he eventually fouled out, you saw where it just all went to crap after that. And he is important, man. He is really good. He's even surpassed, as much as we talked about some of the positives to go along with the negatives on draft night, he has surpassed everything that I even thought he could be by game 82. I didn't know he would be doing this. 4 or 5 consecutive games of 20-plus. In a month, he's shooting over 40% from 3. He has been fantastic. He has been a great revelation for this basketball team. And we'll continue to say it because there's 70 games left. When you have Maxey on the floor with the other 3 and they have their time, this guy's going to be starting with Maxey. I think we could probably put that one to bed now. He's going to be starting. And it's going to be fun to watch he and Maxey together. I'll ask you this because Derek and I got this yesterday. Someone compared them maybe going forward to C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard. And we were like, let's hang on a little bit. But it's the 2 small guards, the offensive punch, no defense from the other 2, but, man, they can light it up and fill it up.
Yeah, I think the tough part about that, I think Maxey is a relatively good Dame analog. The tough part with CJ is a lot of his game is he had the crafty handle right? And there's a lot of like mid-range pull-up shooting and things like that where now we've seen some mid-range pull-ups from Jared and stuff, but I think the handle is probably the big separator between those two.
And that's where when people bring up like Brunson, it's like, well, that's where that falls apart. Brunson has a much better handle.
Yeah. No, that's not to say. Look, handle is normally something that you don't see like huge gains once you're in the pros. I mean, he honestly plays a lot of the time just small Klay Thompson, right? Just a lot of the relocating, the quick release, things like that. Not much off the dribble, although the strength can be an advantage for him. And so for me, that's always the harder part with the smaller guards, right? Guys who win with strength at the amateur level. And it's like, okay, I see it. Like you're able to bully guys when you're playing college guys, but that can go off a cliff quickly. I think he's shown that he can leverage it enough already, right? And then the craft on top of that, the footwork, the shot making is the big thing, right? Because without that, you can't put guys on their heels. You can't draw them out to you. Like that is the big thing. And so far, it's looking like an absolute genius pick that they made there. And it's frankly saving the vibes of the season to some extent because so many other things have gone wrong and maybe still will go wrong moving forward. But all credit to Jared for seizing this opportunity. Because I mean, even tonight, he's off 3 30 or 30-plus point games or close to 30-point games. And he could have come into this one and just melted down. Nobody would have been surprised.
I only took the 2+ because I didn't think he would get the 4. I didn't think Suggs would give him enough breathing room.
He was great, and I think you are seeing somewhat of the blueprint for what it's going to look like when Maxi's back. And look,
and I think they'll figure it out how to play off of one another pretty easily.
I think we've already seen Jared found the instant chemistry with Joel on those handoffs. Yep. I think all the stuff we hear about him is, very intelligent guy who cares about the craft, watches film, does all this. And I think Tyrese is a gym rat, hard worker in the same way where the defense is going to be an issue, and it's going to be something they have to figure out. But I think offensively, that is so easy to see how that's going to work.
The defense was an issue with McCollum and Lillard, too.
Yeah.
The difference here that they didn't have in Portland was you do have the big fella behind you.
And you have Paul
and George and Caleb and Kelly Oubre until they do something else.
And that's really what the comparison was about. It wasn't like that these are two analogous players. It's that you have a good offensive, poor defensive backcourt. Can you overcome that?
Yeah.
Well, the Sixers have a better chance because they have Caleb, PG, and Embiid behind them.
Yeah, and let me add this, too, because when we talk about you meant the strength that you use when you're a young player in high school because you can overpower a player even at your own size because you may be built a little bit differently. We see his lower bases. He looks like a running back out there. But the thing that we always talk about, too, is some players come into the league and they're behind because they're so athletic. They don't focus on the shooting. So while he is behind on the ball handling and he's not as athletic, the shooting is translating already. So in that way, while he may not have the handles where he's going to drop somebody to the floor like C.J. McCollum, he knows who he is. He knows how to get to his spots. He figured out how to play off of Embiid, and he's already incorporating that mid-range game that is going to be so important for him, for who he is, the way that he gets there, not the shake and bake of CJ, but the spin move that's going to be there. And we talked about it against Charlotte. That spin move is going to be there. Okay, they're going to figure that out now on film. They're going to. What is your counter to that? We're already seeing that he's figuring that stuff out in real time, and he is. You're absolutely right. The bright spot. No, number 2 is Yabu of a bright spot to this team. Jared is number 1.
There are levels to this.
As far away.
As much as we love Yabu, and I certainly love Yabu's
Yabu's fun, and I'm glad that he's a rotation player, but we're not talking about
It's a much different level.
This is all for him. So let's talk about the player of the game. We talked about him. Let's show you who our player of the game is, and that is absolutely one Jared McCain. McCain, we gave you our numbers, 29 points, 5 for 10 from 3. Derek, you talked about getting off another double-digit night of three-pointers. Made all 4 of his free throws. I think he's perfect from the free throw line all season. And 4 assists.
Knock on wood.
For Jared McCain. He has been phenomenal. He passed another test tonight. We'll see what he does against the Miami Heat on Monday night in Miami. The crowd won't be a problem because they show up late. Defensively, he might have who? Rozier and Hero chasing him around. He should have some advantages there against the Miami Heat. But he is our player of the game for tonight. I think he's running away with the field, isn't he, right now?
Yeah, I think he had 4.
About 4 of them.
I think this is his
already?
5th one, yeah.
He won the week.
Now,
that's
technically,
for damn sure.
The one with one post game with Roy and Rich, I don't think they had a player of the game.
Okay.
But I nominated player of the game, and it was Jared.
I don't think there's any disagreement that was the case. So good on Jared.
We do have to get to our super chats, but real quick on Yabu. He's a backup 5 again today.
And look, I don't know how much of that. I don't want to read too far into it because I don't know what Nick said after the game. I presume he was asked about it. About, is Andre just sick and he didn't want to play him that many minutes? But he went to Yabu immediately. He gave Drummond a few minutes of time that was the second quarter, right, when he came in. And they ended up winning those minutes somehow, despite the fact that Andre airballed a layup on one of his first touches of the game. So it's something to monitor. This was a team that we came in and we said pregame, this is the team that you play a real big against because they got some big guys on the front line, a little smaller without Wendell Carter Jr. But, hey, man, might be scary hours for Andre Drummond in Philadelphia right now.
He's coming off an illness, so maybe he was sick.
So we'll see. I don't want to overreact to that.
And we even said it, we said it pregame that we would still like to see those guys in their natural roles, starter Embiid, backup for Andre Drummond, and you mix in Yabu. But you can see it again where Yabusele is having an impact on the game. That steal that he and McCain got together for that transition dunk that we talked about. And even the other one on the pick and roll where Jared smartly kept the dribble and didn't try to throw it over the top or leave his feet to do it. He simply kept his dribble, bounced past around the defense, perfect pass right in the pocket of Yabusele through the defense for that dunk. That was a tremendous
nice
play.
And we were all a little worried that Yabu was going to lose his grip on the rim because that would have – I made a joke. I was like, Yabu is so dense that he might leave a dent in the court if he just, dropped straight to the floor. But, hey, solid, certainly unspectacular game for Yabu, but I don't know what they're going to do there. I just – They played him a good bit with Joel tonight, so that was also – Nick is trying to figure out what his role is, and I don't know that he knows that yet.
Yeah. So that one was good. All right, we'll get to a couple of these super chats here because we do have quite a few people in here in the super chats. Let me see where I can go to Bernard McCoy here. I hope the narrative that Maxey can't win without Embiid stops. All the good teams in the NBA are young and athletic from top to bottom, except us. Thanks, Bernard. Appreciate it.
Are they a good team? Because except us is making it seem like they are a good team right now. So I'm just having some fun.
I think two things are true. Tyrese Maxey certainly isn't going to win when Kelly Oubre is his second best player, and they're nowhere near built to compete without Embiid and Paul George. 100% true. But also, I think some of Tyrese Maxey's playmaking deficiencies show up more when he is asked to be the primary option. So I think there's a little bit of truth that he needs to grow more as a playmaker to really be a number one option. But also, if you're a number one option with Kelly as your number two, you're kind of screwed anyway.
Yeah, and I would also say I expect Joel to play better than he did in these two games. And if he is not going to play better than this, then I would agree. They have an equal chance to win games with Joel out there as they do with just Tyrese out there, because that version of Joel is not the guy who has led this team in the past. I would say that.
Yep. All right, let's get to another super chat. I think Bill has a few super chats in here. So let's run with Bill. Bill donating tonight with some really cool, whatever one, Bree, you started, we run with it with Bill as Bill super chat here.
Should we be worried Morey will trade McCain?
Nah.
I mean, at this point, he's indispensable to your plans to win right now, right? That doesn't mean he won't get traded. Maybe he'll be so good that you can flip him in a contract for somebody that's really good on a rookie contract. That's not impossible, but as of right now, you can't. He went to the bench, and it's well, how are they going to score?
Did you see his plus minus?
He
was
not.
a plus 13 or something like that. He had a Joel Embiid plus
what
minus.
It felt like, right? I don't think that lied. That the offense looked so much better when he's on the floor. I'd have to go and see what the the specific splits were, but
he was a plus 13 in a 12-point loss. No, look, I fundamentally don't believe that anyone who's not a top 20 player, nobody below a top 20 player is untradeable. I just don't believe in the concept. That being said, what he would possibly be traded for went from maybe you're including him for a role player
he
to
ain't a sweetener anymore,
it would have
buddy.
to be a star. Yeah.
Nah, look. You're not trading him right now, and we don't know what it looks like when he and Maxey play together, how good or not good that looks when they're out there on the floor. So I'll say, just give it some time, and we'll figure it out. We'll find out exactly how it all looks when they come back, how it all plays out, and reevaluate it. And then you guys have talked about it. It could be a front court player. It could be a six-man for all we know that they decide to bring in, and don't want that necessarily being for Jared McCain the way that he is playing, if it's working by the time the Sixers do, in fact, get to the trade deadline. All right, let's get to Bill's other super chat. Any idea when you'll do another one of these meetups, but in South Jersey, like when we were at
We did a couple of chicken and egg last year.
Yeah, we did.
Yep. Love that place, of course.
Bill, it's up to the powers that be. I would say that.
I don't think we have one currently scheduled.
Yeah.
But I'm also guessing that they're not done doing these, so you'll have to keep an eye out.
We have been. I can speak for the table. We're open to going basically wherever within reason, right? We've even talked about Michael B. hosting us in Portugal. So
is Portugal now within reason?
Depends on who's funding it, right? I'm not funding it, so it can be within reason
Xfinity.
as long as step it up with those Comcast dollars, baby. But yeah, so Bill, obviously we'll pass that along to the powers that be.
And thank you again for watching and listening to the show as always and contributing in the super chat. MBD checking in on the super chat as well. I'm trying, Ringo. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd. Is that something with you, Derek?
It's Pulp Fiction.
I didn't.
Okay.
Come on,
Because he
gentlemen.
says Bodner. He says Bodner in there.
Trying real hard. We cannot repeat most of the.
No.
And as I strike down with furious anger, Samuel L. Jackson says.
One of the greatest scenes of all time. That entire scene.
I mean, that movie in general is just
scene,
insane.
man, I love it.
Can
Absolutely
I have some of your tasty beverage to wash this burger down?
That's a pretty good burger.
The conversation about, you know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Europe? A Royale with cheese. And he's, you know why? They use the metric system. Yep. They don't know what a quarter pound is.
I always thought about that with Malik and Royal Ivy.
Look at that. Okay. All right. Appreciate it, MVD, checking in the super chat. Mr. Midrange. Really looks like the brace is affecting Joel. McCain is something else. He was moving pretty good in the first half. It was the second half. Yeah, he started to adjust it a little bit more. You saw some tears and rips in his compression sleeve or over top of that brace. It's going to take some getting used to, Mr. Midrange. It's going to take some getting used to. He's going to think about it, not only the injury, but he's going to think about that brace restricting him from doing the things that he's used to doing. So
I also wonder if part of that,
I agree a little bit.
Because what you said, like he moved well in the first half. I wonder if there's part of it like, well, when you start struggling, like all those little things just get a little bit more annoying and you start adjusting them and things like that, and it builds like that.
And you know he wants to take that brace off.
Oh, yeah. And I hope he doesn't because it's on there for a reason, and that reason is his health. So I hope but yes, I would expect that is a very frustrating thing to have to wear during a professional basketball game.
I would even say he certainly looked much better in the first half, but in terms of the explosiveness stuff, I'm still not seeing the there are some times when he probably could have gone up and tried to dunk tonight where he just kind of pitter-pat stepped into just like, oh, I'm going to pick the ball up and I'm going to try to score a different way instead, where it's like, that's where I can see it. You don't want to say he can't do it, right? Maybe it's just like he's being cautious and he doesn't want to, or
and to be
whatever
honest, like at points last year where like he should just not dunk anymore. So like we sort of get the
100%. So we're going to see how that unfolds over time.
As we talk about the television side with Roku, love Roku channel. If we hope you watch on the Roku channel, maybe you watch also on the Samsung channel, and now on the Xfinity channel. We appreciate those of you watching on television. If you want to continue to watch our post-game show here, head over to allphly.com for more of the show, and we really
Bill
appreciate
Withers
you
wants
doing
to watch
that.
it on YouTube. He said it's a lovely day to watch PHLY Sixers, apparently.
We love it.
We're going to get DMCA'd like a MFer over here.
Let's get to some more of these super chats. We also have Pump here, Brian Pumper. Depending on Ramp Bead and a podcaster with a laughing, crying emoji.
Buddy, be careful.
Don't disrespect podcasters. Come on
Pumper.
now.
These bums
This is a real
playing
job.
like
We work hard.
Bobby Brown at a certain guy's party who's now incarcerated because of those types of parties. At least we got, I can't believe he went to Jared.
This needs to be a No Diddy podcast. Come on now.
Well,
You see, I didn't say it.
you had to say it, right? And now here we go.
He says, I can't believe we got Jared. We went to Jared. Well, they went to Jared a lot. He got off 10 threes. He was really efficient, man. Really efficient once again. That's the one thing. These are some efficient games, and he's putting up these types of numbers.
Yeah, no, he had 29 on what?
17 shots?
17 shots, 5 of 10
Only
from
got
three.
to the line 4
and that
times.
was after, I mean, he started like 8 for 11, so he had some misses down the stretch, but even still, it was like the start was so hot. It was like you almost couldn't put together an efficient night.
Yep. All right. Appreciate it, Brian Pumper. Stay away from those parties, man. We're good. We can talk about that.
And the section of the Rite Aid that has baby oil. How about that? Stay away from there, too.
Absolutely, man. Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy.
I think it might be time to wrap this one up.
Oh, we got to get these in, and then we'll wrap it up. Nurse Time Management, shaking my head. He's on the hot seat now with a question mark. Nurse Time Management. You said you want to bring up the coach.
So I would say this. Less time management and more. There was a possession tonight that I wanted to take one of these. I would never do this, but I wanted to take one of these wonderful chairs at this bar and throw it at the TV. When the possession started with 9 straight seconds of Caleb Martin dribbling and nobody, including Caleb Martin, moving. It was the most disgusting offensive possession you could imagine, and it ended shortly afterward with a no movement Joel Embiid jumper, I'm pretty sure. There has got to be some more creativity in these looks and movement and some off-ball screening, and some of this just comes down to how they're trying to run things through Joel, and it makes it a little static to some degree, but no excuse to be as static as they've been overall.
I will say, hearing Kyle talk about how he wanted to throw a chair, I'm not sure I want to do any more of these remotes. So whoever asked for another remote in South Jersey, I apologize, but we're just not going to be able to do them anymore.
Davon A includes in another super chat. This roster has a shooting problem on our bench. Well, I think a lot changes, number one, when Embiid is right, George is also himself, and then Tyrese Maxey's in the lineup as well. Sure, you do have that, but the balance of staggering the starters with some of the bench people, you're going to have shooting coming off the bench. And with that, maybe Eric Gordon does knock down a couple of shots. Maybe someone else off the bench does knock down a couple of shots because of that.
I think it's more that you're probably hoping Maxey and George will be on the floor for so long between the two of them, and you've gotten Jared. What you've gotten from Jared, that it's like you only need a little bit from the other guys to actually make up the shooting. Now, I mean, that doesn't excuse Caleb hit his only 3 tonight, but he only took 1, and there have been some issues, we'll say, from the rest of the guys. So eventually they'll make shots.
It was not like your role players did not look when we've gotten this far, and it's like, well, we had to talk about Paul George because he was bad. We had to talk about Embiid, he was bad. You got 1 3-point attempt from Caleb Martin. You got 1 3-point attempt from Kyle Lowry. 1 from Gershon in 24 minutes. Like you did not get enough shooting from your bench. That's fair.
4 turnovers from Caleb, by the way, which I was yelling all throughout the game. Like, what is that pass, or what was that decision?
Should have seen that chair go through that window when he committed that one, man. Oof.
Radio.
As my wife and her cousin over there are filming us, so we're being filmed from another angle.
All right, final one from Davon says, all right, going away from Embiid post-ups, Paul George shooting like a scrub, Nick Nurse, horrible rotations, and not trusting McCain running, he says PG again, so I'm guessing point guard into this one. No more Eric Gordon and Lowry for 28 minutes.
Yeah, so look, again, I don't want to give Nurse an out or say like it's not Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon are not culpable for what they're doing. But when Tyrese Maxey comes back and is playing 30-plus minutes a night, now that McCain is elevated, these guys are naturally, you're going to have a hard ceiling of like 10 to 15 minutes you can even get on the floor in a sensible lineup. So some of this is just they built a 3-star team. And when you build a 3-star team and you had 3 stars for 0.0% of your games, you're just going to have to deal with some funky stuff. Does that mean they need to play Eric Gordon or Lowry specifically? No. Like, could you try Ricky Council? Could you play KJ Martin? Could you play guys who at least have a pulse, although Ricky has not been good in his limited minutes this year? Sure. But you're damned if you do, damned if you don't in some of these situations.
And look, I think, the one part of Jared's game where I thought he was struggling was when he was at the point and they were able to pressure him from 35 feet. So I understand wanting to get another ball handler on there. You would just prefer if that ball handler was, I don't know, somebody who moved faster than you could measure it with the sundial. You prefer that to be Tyrese Maxey. And I think when Maxey comes back, you've got your starting 5, in Maxey, McCain, Caleb, Paul George, and Embiid. And then you've got, Kelly off the bench. You hopefully get one more player to mix into that top 7 or 8, along with Gershon as your backup power forward, and that's sort of like your 8. So I think you're kind of down 2 key rotation players in Maxey and that player to be named later, and hopefully that helps resolve some of these. Because I agree, nobody wants to see Kyle playing 28 minutes per night.
I don't want to see Kyle playing 28 minutes, and I don't want to see me playing any minutes tonight. No, they would not. Not in this setting. You put me in a pickup game against a bunch of other out of shape 35-year-olds, maybe, but not in this setting. I would say one more thing.
Sure.
We always talk over the years about part of the reason that there's always a backup center problem is because you have spent a max contract on the center. Part of the reason you have a point guard problem or like reserve guard problem beyond Tyrese Maxey is you have a max contract future of the franchise point guard, right? You can only get so much good production out of one position. The money is how you allocate your resources.
Yeah.
You just were never going to. I mean, maybe you could have gotten lucky with and frankly, McCain being as good as he is, that's you getting lucky at the guard spot, right? Or you could say they prepared and they earned it with their scouting, whatever. But the guys you're signing as vet mins are just not going to be able to hold up over these minutes, and nobody should expect them to.
And look, you're supposed to rely on Joel to create a lot of offense and to run a good chunk of that offense from the elbow. You're supposed to rely on Paul George to be able to create a little bit of pick and rolls, and they were just both poop tonight. So it happens.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to our Rothman Who Won the Week award winner for this week, since it's our last show of the week.
No spoilers.
I think it's pretty obvious here. Averaging about 26 points a game. Jared McCain. He's on a roll, man.
God bless him, because he's been one of the only reasons to feel good and feel positive about this team. He has been cooking.
Yes, he is. He's been fantastic again this week, averaging before tonight 25.5. He didn't mess that up because of the mere fact that he dropped 29 for what he did. So he's been fantastic. He is our Rothman Who Won the Week award winner. Rothman Orthopedics, specialize in orthopedics, and you visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today. All right, that should pretty much do it for us here today. 2-10 are the 76ers. They get the weekend off, man. But you said it. A weekend off in Miami.
We all need the weekend off, brother.
And we have it. And we have the weekend off.
They're down in Miami on South Beach. I'll be on my couch after the last 2 nights.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home and hopefully Iron Mike knocks that bozo's head off on Netflix or whatever.
There's a lot of that in the chat already.
I don't think he will, though. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's Father Time, as they say, is undefeated. So, we'll see.
Villanova not doing themselves any favor. Cal Neptune.
I can't blame Father Time on that one. Those guys are all like 20 years old.
It's Cal Neptune. He might be doing a show with us soon.
Not rooting for anybody to lose a job, obviously.
No, we're not. We're just simply saying you got to get it together with that Villanova program. All right. A lot of people to thank, man. Tiernan Oak, first of all, for hosting us tonight.
Great food.
Fantastic.
Some good brewskis.
Great vibes.
Great vibes. We had a nice turnout earlier. Got to meet some people that we've met before have come out to events.
Some new people.
Some new ones.
We can shout them out because even though we don't know if the professors want their name out there, but we can just call them the professors.
We'll call them the professors. That's right.
Because we don't know.
Yeah, they're keeping a low profile. Yeah, I don't think they registered. They just snuck in and said, hey, big fans of the show and the writing and whatnot.
Yes.
But we do have a few of our prominent commenters,
and
chatters who were here.
And they've mentioned it in the chat already, so I think we can probably mention it.
Eugene was here. Jess was
here.
What
up, Gene? What
Colby
up, Jess?
was here.
Colby showed up.
Val was here.
What up, Val?
Randy Rubart was here.
Randy, yes.
Who am I I'm forgetting. I think a few people.
Did you say Colby Colbs?
I did say Colby Colbs.
Yep, so Randy, Gene, Jess, Val, and the professors.
And we had some of our PHLY gang.
Randy was at Chet, right?
Yeah. Yes, and he was like Bill and saying, "You gotta come back to South Jersey." So that's at least 2 people that we know of who want us back in South Jersey. So thank you to everybody who came out here tonight, including our PHLY family who came by, had a few drinks, and hung out. We have my wife Kendall and her cousin Bill who decided they were going to come right as we're finishing our show because they apparently can't read a clock. But thank you to them for their support as well. Thank you to certainly super producer Bree.
Thank you, Bree.
Been here all night hanging
Fantastic
out.
as always.
Hanging with Shannon over here in the corner.
Shan, yes.
Thank you, Shan, for showing up. We love
Yes.
that. And who else are we? You already got your thank you. Maybe you should pay attention over there, wifey.
Wasn't even paying
Thank
attention.
you to Chris, who
Wasn't
came
even
out,
paying
helped set up, and was running the giveaway. JP, Jamie, everybody. Thank you to all the lively folk in the chat tonight, right? We got Brian Knight, Brother Hannibal.
What up, B Knight?
Remo K.
Remo.
We got moms.
Mom's in there?
grandchildren.
Hey, Mom. She's
Great,
in there.
said great show a little bit ago.
Yeah,
we got
talking to Mom earlier.
Sir Shmooey. We got Wawa Marvel,
Sir Shmooey.
ECW,
Which one is
Tom
that?
Jackson, Miguel Miranda, MPTR.
What up, Miguel? When you gonna drop some new music, man?
We got Vincent Salamatino.
Whoa, what up, Vinny?
Let's see. Game Time. We had a whole heck of a lot
Game
of people.
Time, what up?
And Uptown Buck. Not to be
Uptown
confused with Uptown Funk. Jeannie H. I Gavini.
Gavini, what
Tom
up?
Jackson. I think I saw Malcolm Carrington. B. Water, PHLY guy. Oh, Michael Johnson.
What up,
Dominic.
Mike? Dom.
Bernard McCoy, our guy.
B.
DJ,
McCoy.
a.k.a. Mr. Sandman.
Bring me a dream. We need some wins in those dreams. Can they become reality?
And how about this one to end it? Because we all need to love each other. You better love somebody.
To love somebody, to
I
love
know there's a lot of
somebody,
sniping and
to love
arguing,
somebody.
but we're all family around here. Thank
Philly
you,
fans,
everybody.
We saw you.
In person, at home,
Sal
wherever you
stopped
show
by.
up for
We
us.
saw Sal stop
did
by.
stop by.
Yes.
Hit the subscribe button on the way out. Hit the bell icon so you
Where's
get
the bell
notifications each and every time we go live.
Ding.
Oh, just hit your head, and that's like ringing the bell.
There you go.
And hit the thumbs up button, as always, to help us in the algorithm, but also to say thank you to Bree for everything she does for the show. Thank you, everybody. We are out. We'll be back Monday night, pre- and post-game, Miami Heat. Every game feels like a must-win right now, so let's call that one a must-win. See you, everybody.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.